Along the western coast of India lies an ancient mountain range. Planet Earth's richest diversity of life is found here. In this magical land, new species are still being discovered. This vast expanse of green that stretches across 60,000 square kilometers is a global hotspot. On my journey, I will travel along these old mountains,
Traditional Toda blessing.
meet the inhabitants, explore their changing relation with the forest. What makes these mountains of the south, older than the Himalayas, so special? And how can we preserve the Sahyadris or the Western Ghats for posterity? Following the Western Ghats, we've now reached the state of Tamil Nadu. The landscape is flanked by the lofty peaks of the Annamalais on one side and the Nilgiris or the Blue Mountains on the other. 12 major forest types are found here, fragmented by tea and coffee plantations. On my 1,000-kilometer journey along this stretch, I meet a Bollywood director who's become a cheese farmer.
How does a Bollywood director make cheese?
Well, actually, he gets a wife who can.
A scientist who's regenerating a rainforest to save the lion-tailed macaque.
25% of the population in the Annamalais are in these private fragments.
And the original inhabitants of the Nilgiris, the Todas. The stillness of dawn at Mettupalayam station is broken by the gentle whistle of the Nilgiri steam engine train. For over a century, this vintage steam engine has been driving the Nilgiri mountain train. Its beauty lies in its old world charm. Both the passengers and the train carrying them are decked up before the journey begins.
It was built in 1905. It's considered as part of the World Heritage List. This is the Nilgiri train which snakes its way through the Western Ghats, and I'm going to start my journey here. And if you want to know what slow travel is all about, come with me. Once aboard, the train chugs along through narrow winding bridges, over 200 of them, and through 16 tunnels, till it gets to the hill station of Ooty. It's kids who enjoy the train ride the most. In front of me, a honeymooning couple. Is she pretty or no? Yeah. Yeah? Prettier than Sridevi? No, don't hide. You have such a pretty face. Why did you decide to come on train and not drive up? This is more romantic, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're going to leave this couple to their honeymooning. The view from the train is a visual feast for nature lovers. Rolling hillsides covered with dense forests. Elephants munching on their morning meal. I am transfixed. So this is the beauty of slow travel. This train will take almost 4 hours to reach Ooty. If I were to take a car, it would take half the time. But this is the joy of travel like this, with snaking our way through narrow rocks and crevices. There's another part of the Western Ghats where high-speed traffic is endangering wildlife, and one woman is doing her best to save that species.
the small little hill station of Valparai is in the Annamalais, known for the wildlife it supports. From the agile Malabar squirrel to the tea-browsing Indian gaur. And there's one species in particular that's caught my attention, the lion-tail macaque.
I'm on my way to look for Divya the monkey lady. Hopefully we'll find her here on this stretch. There. Hi Divya!
Hi.
Hi! There you are! I've been looking all over Valparai town for you. Hi! What's this going on?
We are trying to control traffic and also
With signboards. So you're the traffic lady for the monkeys today.
Yeah, they are actually.
The lion-tail macaques are endemic to the Western Ghats. That means this is the only place on the entire planet where you can see these animals. A national highway cuts through their habitat, so quite often the primates have to descend onto the road to reach the forest from the other side, making them vulnerable to roadkills. Divya has hired 2 watchers who track these monkeys through the day, warning vehicles to slow down at vulnerable points. But sometimes accidents are just unavoidable.
அது முதல்ல சொல்லு நாங்க ஸ்லோ பண்ண கூட பரவாயில்லை போட்டோ எடுக்கட்டும் என்ன பார்த்தா நல்லதுதான் Don't take any food for the monkeys, okay?
As tourists stop to have a look under Divya's watchful eye, she explains to them that feeding the macaques doesn't help. Take photos, but please don't feed them, she urges.
But a lot of people say we're doing it out of the goodness of our hearts, and you know, these monkeys are not getting enough.
It's wrong because these monkeys have enough in the forest to forage, and once they get used to this and you know it has salt and oil and all just like us, they also quite like the taste.
More than the tourists, it's the fragmented forest that has troubled Divya. In the last 10 years, she has gradually revived over 15 such bald patches in the forest, linking crucial corridors for wildlife here. At her nursery, seeds from the rainforest are carefully nurtured and then replanted back in the forest.
Yeah, just pick up 2 of these.
And I volunteered to help her today.
And this is how we plant a rainforest, you know.
We load the saplings and make our way to a stretch carefully selected by Divya. She picked sites which are vital corridors for the animals, so they aren't hemmed in by the tea bushes on all sides.
It's bracket.
A little bit of compost, a lot of tender loving care. We're just going to gently ease this plant in, and in it goes. Now this may seem like just a symbolic gesture of just planting trees all over, but there's a method to what we're doing right now. Divya has carefully selected the species which are akin to this altitude here.
Although we really don't have a choice as to what kind of sites we restore, because we have to work in whatever forest fragments are there, and it really makes sense for us to restore this, and you know, sometimes hope that most animals will use it and move across into the sanctuary and back here and basically build the connectivity between fragments.
Every tree we plant will be looked after by Divya's team to ensure it survives. She also makes sure that the trees will one day provide food for the wildlife here. It's people like Divya who are planting seeds of hope in an age of much eco-destruction.
All right, little plant, may you grow into a rainforest tree.
Maybe you should sing a song.
I don't know how to say. Okay, let's move out.
Back on the train, we are now slowly chugging up the hillside. In a while, we will reach the queen of the Nilgiris, Udagamandalam. The original inhabitants of Ooty were the tribals, the most dominant were the Todas. And I want to know how this ancient community is surviving today. The Todas' first contact with civilization was in the 18th century when the British arrived. Today, there are less than 1,500 Todas pushed to the upper reaches of the Nilgiris. Khuttan explains how their lives remain intricately linked to the forest.
There are many types of trees and shrubs that we make use of in our lives, which are useful even for our cattle. But those trees are slowly vanishing, and the forest department planting eucalyptus and other kind of trees that we cannot make use of.
With their numbers falling, all that is unique to the Todas, their language, their rites and rituals are today under threat. In this village, for instance, only one traditional Toda hut is left. The rest have moved to cement homes with satellite television. You could call this progress, but perhaps there's also a way of life that's being forgotten.
Utisha, Amma, I've come to seek your blessings. Traditional Toda blessing. Thank you. So what is this you're doing? Embroidery? I want to learn how you do this. This is special Toda embroidery.
The homespun cotton shawls have black and red embroidered motifs.
I'm going to wear the prettier one. Can I try it on?
Worn by both the Toda men and women, they're tied around the waist, with one end thrown over the shoulder, almost like the Romans.
Something between a sari and a shawl. Okay. I don't know if I feel like the Todas. It seems like the toga of the Romans. But thank you, Amma. Thank you. Thank you.
A local NGO has helped the Todas get a patent for this unique embroidery to ensure it isn't commercially exploited. A small but vital step in protecting their dying culture. I leave the village with the assurance from Khuttan that no matter how much the world modernizes, the Todas will continue to pass on their traditions and culture to the next generation. After the break, a Bollywood director who's now a cheese farmer.
How does a Bollywood director make cheese?
Well, actually, he gets a wife who can.
And a factory that's allegedly discharging effluents into a forest stream.
So this is the dark side to industrial production, which you may never see.
I'm travelling up the Nilgiris on board a 100-year-old train that enjoys a World Heritage status. It gives me a chance to sight some of the special residents of the Western Ghats. A Malabar giant squirrel feeding on its favourite food, the jackfruit. It's hanging upside down and it devours the entire fruit within minutes. Around Ooty, the local economy survives on the tea industry and tourism. But there are some eyesores here, spoiling an otherwise pristine landscape. This factory, I'm told, manufactures gelatin from animal bones. But there's more happening behind the scene. We walk down from the factory to the nearby stream.
Yeah, it smells. So this is the dark side to industrial production, which you may never see. There's a factory upstream which is making gelatin from animal bones. It's releasing all its effluents into this forest stream. In fact, just a few minutes before we arrived here, there was a barking deer which was drinking this water. It's laced with chemicals, and the stench is so unbearable that I can't even sit here.
But Sterling Biotech, the company that owns the factory, denies that they're doing anything wrong.
Our plant has an effluent treatment facility which operates as per pollution board standards. Our gelatin manufacturing process does not use any hazardous chemicals. We don't discharge water into any stream nearby.
They claim they're acting responsibly, but I have yet to see such a stinking stream right in the middle of a pristine forest. And then there are impacts of tourism which often go unnoticed.
So here's a site which tourist buses will never show you. All the waste from the city of Ooty is just dumped here on this hillside. There's hundreds of millions of tons of garbage. It's just left over here. Every day trucks come. There are people working with their bare hands. It's leaching into the soil. If you can see all around our agricultural fields, it's affecting the groundwater as well. On the other side, if you see our reserve forests, so it's also affecting the biodiversity of the Western Ghats because you're having birds coming and feeding on these dumps. What an utterly depressing sight to the Western Ghats.
So what is the way out for some of our most beautiful hill stations across the Western Ghats? The solutions lie in creating models of responsible tourism.
Hi Bahar.
Hi Tina. So Papa kehte hai set up a cheese farm?
And former Bollywood director Mansoor Khan is doing just that. Mansoor gave Bollywood a few gems, some even set in the picturesque backdrops of the Western Ghats. But then, Mansoor gave up his life in the fast lane to set up a farm to promote sustainable living. I wonder how a Bollywood director ended up as a cheese farmer.
Well, I think it was the other way around. I always wanted to be a farmer, I ended up being a Bollywood film director. Probably I had to prove myself first, So I managed to do that. But all through the plan was to escape, and so I was lucky, one of the few who escaped.
So Mansoor bought a couple of Jersey cows.
For cheese making, actually Jersey is better.
22 acres of land, some ducks and fish in the pond that he tends to himself daily, and a modest resort with only 5 cottages.
If you really honestly want to be sustainable, everybody's lifestyle will have to shrink. So we kept in mind that we have so much land, therefore we should have so many cows. Therefore the size of because that much grazing land is there. We made 2 biogas plants. We asked the guys, the consultants, how big should they be?
Milk has got a sugar in it which we call lactose. So it feeds on that sugar.
But there's one more element that sets his farm apart from the others. Mansoor and his wife Tina also teach their guests how to make organic cheese.
Okay, cut it from the bottom?
Yeah.
I learned from Tina the basic processes of cheese making. From coagulation to cutting to compressing. It's an intricate process that can take several hours. That's why Tina calls the final product, her handmade cheese, as a work of art.
Okay, so we'll leave that there to settle. That's going to take a couple of hours, and all the cheese I've made today will take at least 2 months till it's finally ready.
Yes.
But you said you prepared some cheese for us already. Yeah? So we can taste that. This is my favorite part, which I've been waiting for several hours now.
And this is herb and garlic, feta, and this is the hard cheese.
Wow. Can I actually take a sample now?
Yeah, why not?
Yum, 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 yum. What's those hours of hard work? Now I know why people take part in cookery shows.
Yeah, you get to taste it.
The cheese is available only in a few towns. Tina prefers to keep production on a small scale, in keeping with their philosophy of sustainability.
So cheers to cheese.
Cheers.
Back in the dining hall, Mansoor is giving the last touches to a book on environment that he's just finished.
most environmentalist books are doomsday scenarios.
This is not an environmentalist book, which is another thing I would like to correct.
Okay.
This has got nothing to do with environment. This has nothing to do. This tells you, okay, you want to destroy the environment, you want to cut all the trees, you want to dig out all the oil, do it. But you still will not make growth possible. So it is a book about possibility rather than morality.
And thank you, Tina. Thank you so much for the young.
I leave Mansoor Khan and Tina. They've embraced their life in the mountains, demonstrating that even as city-bred people, it's possible to turn your life around and live sustainably. I bid goodbye to this end of the Western Ghats. It's wonderful, inspiring people. And of course the animals. And the Nilgiri train as it chugs its way through this ancient landscape.